Welcome to our lesson this day. Our lesson is Management Information System. We start by introduction. Management Information System, or MIS, is a planned system that is designed for collecting, storing, disseminating data in the form of information needed to carry out the functions of management. So we are saying that management information system does three functions. One, it collects data. Number two, the system stores data, and then it does what we are calling dissemination. Dissemination is transferring maybe the information from to the user. And what is the role of management information system? Basically, it's a system that is used by management. Types of management information system, and we are saying that there are 5 types of management information system. Number one is transaction processing system, TPS, management information systems, or MIS. We have decision support systems, DSS. We have executive support systems, ESS, and then expert systems. So we are going to discuss one by one, and the first one is transaction processing system, or TPS. A transaction is any business related exchange, such as sale to a client or a payment to a vendor. So that is what we call transaction in management information system. Anytime you do any exchange with a client, we refer that one as a transaction in a business term. For example, we are saying when you sell anything to a client, that is a transaction. When you go to the bank, you deposit money, that is a transaction. When you go to the supermarket, and at the point of sale, when you pay for your product or for the item that you have shopped from the supermarket, that is a transaction. Transaction processing systems process and record transactions as well as update records. They automate the handling of data. About business activities and transactions. They also record daily routine transactions such as sales orders from customers or bank deposits and withdrawals. A good example is when you go to the supermarket, you pick your items. At the point of sale, the place whereby you are given the receipt, they use what we call transaction processing systems. The system will record transaction, it will update records, and it will automate the handling of data. Number two, we are saying transaction processing systems are vital for the organization as they gather all the input necessary for other types of systems. A good example is when you go to the supermarket, the basic system that is used to do transactions in the supermarket is the TPS. As we continue, we'll see that TPS is very key because it acts like a feedback to other systems, as we are going to see in this lesson. TPS provide the basic input to companies' database. So we are saying that they provide the basic input to companies' database. A failure in TPS often means disaster for the organization. For example, if you have ever gone to the supermarket and you bought an item, and later you realize that the item is faulty. When you go back to the supermarket using your receipt, they can be able to retrieve that information from the system. That is the reason we are saying that in case a TPS fails, it's a disaster to the organization. And what happens today in this time when you realize that a certain supermarket, for example, is not reliable, as a client, you will go to another supermarket. And every business is determined to make sure that you serve your clients well. That is the reason we are saying it's a disaster if the system fails. Remember, we have said that this system also feeds data to other systems in the organization. So if the key system fails, it means the other systems that we're going to discuss below are not going to be effective in the organization. Transaction processing systems were created to maintain records and do simple calculations faster, more accurately, and more cheaply than people could do the task. You remember sometimes back when you used to go to the supermarket and these people were using those calculators. They could take long to serve maybe a certain number of clients. But we are saying with the introduction of TPS, we are saying they maintain records and do simple calculations faster and more accurately. Remember, using those calculators, you could do maybe some miscalculation and all that. But with the system, the TPS is very fast. You can pick 1,000 items in the supermarket and the calculations will be done very fast and accurately within a short time. And that is one advantage of TPS. Characteristics of TPS, we are saying TPS control collection of specific data in specific formats and in accordance with the rules, policies, goals of organization, and in a standard format. They also accumulate information from internal operations of the business. Another advantage is that they are general in nature, meaning that you can apply the same TPS across organizations. And then they are continuously evolving. Remember, today in this century, we are dealing with a technology that is changing each day. So TPS are continuously evolving to make sure that they adopt to the changes in the business world. What are the goals of TPS? The goals of transaction processing system. Number one, they speed up operations in the business, and then they also use fewer people. They improve efficiency and accuracy. Another goal of using TPS in organization is integrating with other organizational information systems. TPS can very fast be incorporated or integrated in other information system within the organization. And I've said we are going to see this as we continue. Another goal of TPS is to provide information that was not available previously. Remember, I've said today you can do shopping in a supermarket and maybe go back even some days later and they'll be able to retrieve the same information from the system, something that was not happening some years ago. Examples of TPS: number one, airline reservation systems. These are systems that are used maybe in the airports to do reservation for your airline and ticketing and all that. Automated teller machines. You all know about ATMs. Although today, with the introduction of mobile apps, uh, there is a lot of competition. I don't know how many people today are using ATMs, but with the introduction of mobile apps, we don't see the long queues we used to see in the ATM sometimes back. I remember sometimes back you could go to the banks and at the ATM the lines were very, very long queues. But today, because of mobile banking, we don't have such queues today. Another example of TPS is order processing systems. We have payroll systems, point of sale systems, basically used in the supermarkets or in distribution centers and all that. Number two, another example of information system is management reporting system. And we are saying management reporting systems were called management information systems sometimes back. And they provide routine information to decision makers to make structured, recurring, and routine decisions. Now, I want you to check this. We are saying they make structured, recurring, and routine decisions, such as restocking decisions or bonus hours. Like in big retail shops, you'll find we need a system that is going to inform the management when they need to restock the stock. They need to maybe offer bonus hours to their clients. And that is where management reporting system is very key. We are saying they provide information to management to provide what? Routine information to decision makers, such as restocking. Restocking is something that happens from time to time. That is the reason we're saying that it is routine. MRIs focus on operational efficiency and provide summaries of data. MRIs takes relatively raw data available through a TPS. Now remember we said that transaction processing system is very key in organization. You see now, MRIs gets its information from a transaction processing system. So we can say that TPS feeds MRIs with information or with data and converts it into a meaningful aggregated form that managers need to conduct their responsibilities. They generate information for monitoring performance, e.g., productivity information, and they maintain coordination, for example, between purchasing and accounts payable. The main input to MRS is data collected and stored by transaction processing system. I think this is very important. I've mentioned that MRIS gets its data from transaction processing system. Now, what are the outputs of MRIS? In other words, as managers, what can you get from management reporting system? Number one, we have rescheduled reports. Scheduled reports can be reports which are produced periodically, for example, hourly, daily, weekly, or monthly. An example might be a weekly sales report that a store manager gets each Monday, showing total weekly sales for each department compared to sales this week last year. So we are saying that MRIs will produce scheduled reports. You can get, for example, as a store manager, you can use MRIs to get reports maybe weekly, every Monday, or maybe at the end of the day, each day, to make sure that you know the information as far as the stock is concerned. They can also produce demand reports, and they provide what are demand reports? These are reports that provide specific information upon request. For example, a store manager, you want to know the weekly sales